My fellow initiates, what's going on, guys? Sly here, and thanks for stopping by and checking out another Mass Effect Andromeda trailer breakdown. Now, considering how much little news we've been dealing with the past year or so, today was absolutely awesome. Expecting to see just one cinematic trailer, and then seconds after watching it, realizing that another briefing was released moments afterwards. Now, I'll take surprises like that all day, guys, and hopefully we'll have a little more to see as the month of January draws to a close, because rumor has it that IGN has an in-depth article just waiting to be released. Either way, the Pathfinder and Team Andromeda Initiative briefing will be dissected in another video, which I'll try to get out here as soon as possible, hopefully sometime on Friday, because it has just as much information as the new cinematic trailer that we're about to take a look at. Now, it's not going to be as popular as this one because, well, I mean, come on, Cora and Liam, but still, there are great things to take away from it. Alright, well, enough talking, let's get to it. Now, I wanted to wait to do a breakdown video until a little later after the release because of all the speculation that usually immediately follows after one of these things drop. And with the help of a few dev tweets, quite a few things have been confirmed, whereas just a few hours ago, there were only rumors. So let's hop in and check it out, guys. Alright, so starting out, we see the human Ark, Hyperion, slowly drifting towards the Nexus. Now, we now know that all the non-human squad mates we end up teaming up with come a little later in the game. Now, we're not sure how much later, but it is confirmed that Vetro, Drac, and PB are all in Andromeda well before we make it to the Nexus. This new little tidbit popped up on Mass Effect's website this morning, confirming that. And as always, I'll have links to everything in the description box below if you want to check it out for yourselves. So as we drift forward, we can notice one thing here. Even though Australia has already rated the game and rated it for heavy sexual content, we still do not have a rating in North America. But it's a pretty safe bet. It's going to be mature just like all the other ones. Personally, I was hoping for the first ever NC-17 Mass Effect game, because how awesome would that be, right? But anyways, as we start drifting towards the Nexus, and just like in my previous breakdowns, this confirms that the Nexus is indeed a work in progress, even as you make it into Andromeda. You can see the outline of the second arm or wall, whatever you want to call it, and as we go a little bit forward, you can see that it is indeed still only functioning on one of its sides. Moving along here, we snap to Scott Ryder, who this entire trailer is pretty much centered on this time. And we see ourselves in what looks to be the bridge of the Nexus itself. Now you can see PB and Cora here on the left, as well as Liam on the right. And that's actually, it's kind of funny because we were shown this preview right here the night before this trailer released. And they cut it just so that we only had a small glimpse of the new characters, but nothing real conclusive. And that was right in front of our faces, and we didn't even know about it. But anyways, you can see that the Krogan security chief Knockmore Kesh on the right-hand side, as well as another Solarian on the far left. Now, it's hard to tell if it's the Tempest pilot, Calo Jath, but considering that everyone else is here, it's a pretty safe assumption. The person in the main chair right smack in the middle is obviously someone important, and if you listen to the start of this trailer, you realize that the gigantic planet we're looking at is a candidate planet for habitation. They call it Habitat 7. So that would fall under the command of Foster Addison, who's in charge of colonization aboard the Nexus. Now, while this is of course speculation, I think the person in the middle being Foster Addison is completely plausible. If you look a little bit harder though, you'll notice like this black kind of webbing strewn all across space, seemingly surrounding the entire planet. It almost looks like it's alive, It has lights dotted across all of its entangled threads and even clusters of brighter areas that almost look like some kind of NASA galaxy web. Could this be the stuff that causes the initial problems of the journey? Just like in the recent Game Informer Infosplosion, they said that some kind of catastrophe happens very early in the game. And from the sound of this next scene, it sounds like something is sucking the power out of the Ark, and it's imperative that we find a suitable planet fast, or we're going to lose 20,000 people in cryostasis. The next few scenes show the Ark heading towards the unfinished Nexus, about to board. And then it cuts to the sleeper pods, showing a few humans tending to the 20 or so thousand on board. Now notice it does look like a few doors are open on the bottom right. It could be the two right in front of us just waking up, or it could be a few designated engineers to wake up every so often to take care of maintenance and stuff like that. Either way, the narrator starting off the trailer is Alec Ryder, the N7 Pathfinder for the human Ark Hyperion. Now it starts off saying that they are marooned and adrift in space with 20,000 souls on board, and when the power goes out and stays out, they're going to need to know if the planet in front of them is safe harbor.
That's Habitat 7. New Earth, if we're lucky. We're marooned. 20,000 souls adrift at sea. When the power runs out, stays out, we need to know if that's safe harbor.
So they are definitely in some kind of dire situation. Also recently confirmed that at the beginning of the story, you choose either Scott or Sarah Ryder, which of course we know that, but the one who isn't chosen is actually affected by this catastrophe and is at the moment permanently stuck in cryostasis until a solution can be found. So that's how your character gets the lead from early on. But moving on with the story, they launch the Tempest deeper into Andromeda. After that, they immediately pick something up on the long-range scanners and order an all-stop, and then all of a sudden, boom, they are right there next to these huge, ominous alien vessels. And they are everywhere, kind of like a T-shaped gunship design, except way bigger. They also look like they fly a vertical ship rather than the Milky Way's horizontal design. Now, if you look closely, you can see that this webbing comes back into play, but here it is extremely thick, cutting off the view of what's behind it and all of these ships. Now, if you look hard enough, you can see different colored lights within it. Now, could this be the Ket's home base, or maybe an artificial homeworld, something like that? Whatever it is definitely alien to us, but right here, we might get a clue as to what it's called.
Out of here.
They've got us pinned against the scourge.
Get us out of here.
They've got us pinned against the scourge.
Now, it's kind of hard to hear what he says, but I think he says scorch. Like I said, it's kind of hard to tell. But as you can see here, it is indeed an intertwined solid mass of webbing as it actually strikes the ship. Next, we finally get to see the main baddie of Andromeda, the Archon. You're on the Tempest with your full crew, as you can see PB, Cora, Drag, Vetro, and Liam running towards the monitor, and how about these graphics, guys? I mean, even though it's a kind of a fuzzy view, it looks pretty damn real. The smoke is rising up as he's speaking, and his movements are spot on. His eyes, the glare, it definitely gives you a creepy feeling, and the realness, it just adds to it. Surrender or burn are his exact words, so this guy is definitely not here to welcome us.
I am Archon. Surrender or burn.
Also, what is this, like a Jaguar commercial, man? Why are all the bad dudes British? Anyway, moving on to the real treat of this scene, we get our first real shot of Liam and Cora, and I don't know, man, they might have things mixed up in their descriptions from E3. It looks like, to me, Cora is the one with the awesome hair, but you can definitely tell that Liam is the idealistic one. He just has that face, it just screams nice guy. Well, maybe not in this scene, but you'll see later on that Liam will be the one to break the ice in a tense moment. And Cora, there's our female temptress, guys, the Miranda of Andromeda. Well, we'll see where that leads here soon enough. Although I have found out I'm pretty much the only one on Earth who actually likes Cora's hair. I saw all kinds of posts on the forums, and for some reason people are pretty upset about it. But coming from the military with her background hundreds of years in the future, I'd say it's pretty fitting. Now, on top of all of these firsts, Vetra finally speaks. Last time we saw her, she just sat there teasing us, and here we finally have a voice to match the face. Now, to me, it sounds like a voice of reason. Again, on the Mass Effect website, this was added with the new trailer. It says that Vetra prefers family ties over venturing deeper into the galaxy, and it sounds like the voice of a mother, It's like the voice of reason. With everything that happens in Andromeda, I'm willing to bet that Vetra will be the rock of the group.
Please. You're not really going out there on your own.
And next up, we get to see a quick shot of PB and Scott getting ready in the garage. And again, the graphics look awesome. Even though the humans looked a little off before, they are on point with the aliens, man. Especially PB. They do a great job with her face. After that, Cora joins them at the cargo bay doors, and they set off to explore a new world. And here is where Scott Ryder takes over as narrator. Now, so far, I've only seen the plain white Initiate armor and the usual Avenger assault rifles. But it would actually be nice to see a little deeper into the gear, But hey, with what we've been given recently, I should be happy with anything. Next up, we see more fantastic world art and graphics. All of this was captured in-engine, so it will be similar to what we see in-game. And guys, I cannot wait. Some of this looks absolutely stunning. Moving along here, we get a familiar glimpse of the Archon once again, and we've seen this part before in the last cinematic trailer a few months ago, which had a little more then, but this time we just get a view of the basketball hoop, although shortly after, we do get this. Now it seems here that the Archon can connect himself to, I don't know, his ship, maybe his world. It's not quite clear what all this does, but perhaps all that webbing acts like an extension of himself, allowing the Archon to see everything that goes on within the Helios cluster. Now I don't know that for sure, and that's total speculation on my part. And then moving on here at the end, we see him kind of raise his arms and then in a flash, some kind of explosion. But I don't think this is actually the Archon, exploding. This is just some kind of fancy transition work from the marketing team. The explosion actually looks to be coming from a different area altogether, out of some kind of caves that we saw on the PS4 gameplay. Dramatic? Sure, but it definitely keeps us guessing. And moving along, we get another view of the best troop transport ever created, the Combat Cockroach. I don't know why, but I absolutely love these little shuttles. Now, why they show them, it's kind of beyond me. They don't really fit into any of the scenes here, or what's even going on in the trailer. They just show them landing on what seems to be like an alien space station or ship, and that's about it. After that, poof, done, and we're on to something else. And that something else is the rich garden world of the Angara, the other big race in Andromeda. And it's also the same race we saw in the gameplay trailer with Sarah Ryder. But the big thing to take away from all this, guys, is this guy right here. Let me be the first to introduce you to Jal. Now, some of you out there watch my weekly news updates, then you know about the Funko Pop character that came out named Jal. At first, I thought it might have been the name of the enemy boss, but I was way wrong about that, and it is indeed our other squadmate in Andromeda. If you're wondering how I know that, well, Funko Pop once again comes to the rescue, complete with Jal and Archon figurines. So we know that the Angara are indeed a friendly race in Andromeda, and Jal, however you say this dude's name, is definitely our missing squadmate. In this next little scene, we see a bar fight and possibly the best quote in any of the trailers so far. I don't need an army, I got a Krogan.
I don't need an army, I've got a Krogan.
Go right, it'll be fun.
Absolutely love it. And Drac, well, I'm pretty sure Drac's going to be my next favorite character. If Krogans call this dude a grizzled veteran, then he is definitely one badass. And speaking of being bad, we get our first taste of romance, and it's definitely way more lifelike than any of the previous Mass Effects. So thank you, Frostbite. And winding down to the end of the trailer, there really isn't that much left to take in. A few more awesome shots of the Andromeda graphics, and I have trouble finding one flaw in this shot. See if you guys can see anything. It's pretty awesome, man. Like I said, they did a great job with PB. On top of that, we see a quick scene of some action with Liam shooting, and then that wraps us up. The last thing to see is this final scene right here where Liam says he's waited 600 years for this, and take a look at the person walking in the shuttle to the right.
Been waiting 600 years for this.
Now, it happens kind of fast, but I've seen a few posts on Twitter where people think this might be a Quarian with kind of a red headdress on. But personally, I think it's Foster Addison with her bright red hair. As you can see in this picture again, it kind of stands out in the light. And also this person has normal legs. Quarians have, that weird leg structure. This person definitely doesn't. But that about wraps us up, guys. Nothing too much to be extracted out of here, but there were a ton of firsts. The only thing I had an issue with is this action team now pose. It's kind of a cheesy if you ask me, but it does make for a great cover title. In the battling world of Mass Effect, it doesn't really fit in my opinion. So here's hoping they don't run with this theme at all. But that's about it, guys. I watched this a ton of times and I didn't see any hidden objects or secret buried in the background, which is a shame. But there were a lot of firsts with this trailer, and that's good enough for me. Alright, well guys, as always, thank you all so much for watching and for supporting my channel. I'll have another breakdown of the briefing trailer early this weekend, and while there aren't any crazy spoilers in there, it does show us a huge amount of backstory about the characters of Andromeda, so it is definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it yet. And as always, you can find links to both of these trailers in the description box below. Once again, thank you all for stopping by. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at SlyNation or on Facebook at SlyNation Gaming, and keep an eye out for more videos coming out of Sly Nation here very soon. But until then, this is your boy Sly, and I will see you all later.